Under your government, $21 billion has been paid to external consultants. How many of them are fraudsters, and how much money have they been paid?
What's frustrating to me, Minister, I think to many Canadians, is that even today you continue to use kind of the impersonal, passive voice to describe events that happen at the department that you're supposed to be running. And I quipped in an earlier meeting that maybe your role could be replaced with that of a potted plant. But I would seriously like to understand.
Mr. Chair, point of order. That is again a certain level of decorum. I think we expect here.
I completely stand by that comment. It's not unparliamentary. You objected to it last time and were overruled, Mr. Kuzmarchuk. What role do you see yourself having in procurement as the minister responsible for procurement?
Well, it's a great job, you know.
It sounds like it's a great job.
Your ministry is mandated to weed out the fraud as it's happening. So why did we have to wait upwards to 6 years for this one company who goes back to 2018? Why did it take 6 years to identify these fraudulent billing practices?
Let me come back to that in a moment.
This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
Earlier today, Bill Curry reported that an internal review of federal contracting uncovered at least $5 million in fraudulent billing by private contractors. You, of course, confirmed this, and you held a press conference earlier today where you announced that 3 information technology subcontractors fraudulently billed on contract work across a number of separate federal departments, agencies, and crown corporations. The total of these illegitimate payments is, as I've said, almost $5 million. Your officials mentioned that 5 to 10 more cases are being looked into. Can you tell me how much money is involved in these additional cases?
Well, thank you for the question, and very pleased to note that you did follow both the story this morning in the newspaper and, equally importantly, the presser that I gave with President of the Treasury Board, Anita Anand. 3 things we announced briefly. First,
Excuse me, Minister. As you noted, I followed along the press conference. What I'd like to know is how much money is involved in these additional cases. Do you know, yes or no? And if you do, how much?
So I'll cut that to 2 pieces then. First, the announcement this morning, the $5 million, which, as you will have understood, is now under investigation by RCMP, and all appropriate attempts will be made to recover those dollars. And second, the fact that, as you also mentioned, there are other cases under investigation, and when more will be known, appropriate measures will be taken.
Thank you very much for that. Are these investigations expanding to any of the companies involved in the ArriveCan scam?
These are separate cases. The reason for which we're able to talk about them today is that since 2018, and more importantly, since the pandemic, a large number of procurement contracts are now electronic. We have invested significantly in electronic procurement, so we're able to use data analytics and the considerable data that has been accumulated to proceed to the identification of these cases and eventually to prosecute them in court.
Thank you. What does your department define as fraudulent payments? For example, were subcontractors paid for work that they didn't do?
Well, this is for these cases, which are different from the ones that you have in mind, different from the ArriveCan cases on which you have spent considerable time over the last few weeks. So these are separate cases, and as you would understand, and as would be appropriate, no, we can't talk about them in public, since that would undermine the important RCMP efforts that are currently undergoing.
So you can't identify the companies, but can you identify which departments are involved with these contractors and the fraudulent payments?
There are many of them. I think it's a bit more than 30 of them, and all of them are cooperating, as they should be doing, with PSPC to find out what went wrong and how we can prosecute those cases and recover the dollars that were fraudulently provided to them.
Can you tell me, are the public servants that were involved with these contractors and these payments being investigated at all?
the information that I have, and again, we need to be very careful because we wouldn't expect and we wouldn't want politicians to get involved in RCMP investigations. So that information is far from political interference. So we are based, we have high-level information that suggests that there is no wrongdoing on the part of public servants at the moment at which we're speaking, but that is obviously under investigation as well.
What about the public service? Any individuals who in the bureaucracy, in the departments that may have been working with these contractors, are they being investigated?
As we just said, everything is obviously under scrutiny, but as we speak now, it's the RCMP is investigating outside subcontractors that have billed fraudulently the federal government.
Minister, Canadians have been rightly shocked and horrified as the details of the botched ArriveCan procurement have been made public.
Bill Curry reported that officials said the 3 subcontractors are not connected to the ArriveCan app for international travelers, that these are different than GC strategies. Can you please confirm that for me?
Can you please expand on what you would like me to answer on?
Can you confirm that the 3 subcontractors are not connected to the ArriveCan application?
Oh, you mean the 3 subcontractors of which we spoke earlier, so
Yes.
the case of this morning. Yes, the information that we have, and again, it's information that is not complete because no one would like to know in this room that a minister is meddling with RCMP investigation. The information that we have is that this is the case.
Thank you. So we've also learned from Bill Curry and yourself that there are even more cases being looked into. Under your government, $21 billion has been paid to external consultants. How many of them are fraudsters, and how much money have they been paid?
Well, the good news is that you're asking this question today. We had a press conference just a moment ago where we did point to the fact that e-procurement, electronic procurement activities over the last few years have been accelerated. And the good outcome of that is that we're now able to find out about those fraudulent activities, which probably have been going on for decades, but for which we couldn't do anything because there wasn't an ability to collect, gather, and analyze data. The good news, we have data analytics in 2024. We have the ability to share electronic data, and we're able to do a lot
And
better.
Minister, the good news is that it was Conservatives that introduced a motion here in this committee and in the House to have this investigated, and your caucus voted against it. Thanks.
Obviously, we're all very pleased that all MPs contribute to the work of this committee. This, however, comes from a 2018 budget investment.
Minister, thanks. It's my time now. I'd like to ask you a very specific question. When were you first briefed on the issues and challenges with ArriveCan?
I was briefed on, obviously I was aware of that for a number of years. That's the first thing. The second thing is I was briefed very quickly after my coming into office.
Do you have a date for us?
Probably sometimes end of August, early September.
Thank you. And did you provide any direction at that time?
No, I didn't provide any direction. I did obviously ask the officials to follow the work that was forthcoming, the work that was going to be produced by the Auditor General and the Procurement Ombud. We knew that we needed to wait for their report before we could take action.
You didn't direct any changes to be made at that time. What's frustrating to me, Minister, I think to many Canadians, is that even today you continue to use kind of the impersonal, passive voice to describe events that happen at the department that you're supposed to be running. And I quipped in an earlier meeting that maybe your role could be replaced with that of a potted plant. But I would seriously like to understand.
Mr. Chair, point of order. That is again a certain level of decorum. I think we expect here.
I completely stand by that comment. It's not unparliamentary. You objected to it last time and were overruled, Mr. Kuzmarchuk.
Mr. Generous. So
thank you. And sincerely, Minister, I would like to understand if you didn't feel it was appropriate for you or you weren't willing to take action when you were briefed on this metastasizing procurement scandal. What role do you see yourself having in procurement as the minister responsible for procurement?
Well, it's a great job, you know.
It sounds like it's a great job.
We as a government, and you are part of the exercise when you use your judgment and your critical input. Now, this is supportive of thousands and hundreds of thousands of middle class jobs across Canada.
Minister? What is it you do here?
The government of Canada is the biggest procurer of goods and services in the country.
But you personally,
it
as
helps
minister,
build
what do you do?
communities, it helps provide good jobs for hundreds of thousands of Canadians. This is an important job.
You're eating to
But
Mr.
what do
Camir's
you
strike
do?
time. Mr. Genwis, please, our time is up. Mr. Duclos, our time is up.
Thank you, Chair. Minister Duclos, the notorious fraudster, two-person, so-called consulting company, GC Strategies, working out of their basement, received close to $20 million of taxpayer monies during the Arrive scam scandal. We know that 635 other consultant companies, middlemen, have engaged directly with the Government of Canada for procurement purposes. Have you done an examination, sir, of that 635 number as to how many are situated like GC Strategies? 2 people, 3 people, 4 people working out of their homes?
Well, two different things here. First, these audits occur all the time. There are auditing teams and officers in many departments, including obviously within PSPC, to check whether there are frauds or inappropriate information not being stored or shared or used. So this is the type of work that is done every day by many departments. Second thing is that, as you saw today, there are instances in which we do find fraud. And if there is fraud, then there is action taken, and there are consequences for those that try to fraud Canadians.
Minister, there isn't immediate action. This government is notorious for being reactionary as opposed to taking proactive steps to weed out the fraud. Why did it take the Auditor General to release a report, the Procurement Ombudsman to release his report, and so, according to your statements, a few tips into the government for you to create yet another level of bureaucracy to do exactly what you've been mandated to do? Your ministry is mandated to weed out the fraud as it's happening. So why did we have to wait upwards to 6 years for this one company who goes back to 2018? Why did it take 6 years to identify these fraudulent billing practices?
Let me come back to that in a moment. The announcement this morning, which shows that we have more and more tools to detect and detect fraud and to seek the consequences that come with fraud. Second, you spoke to the Auditor General and the Ombuds report. Those reports came in January. In November, these contracts with GC Strategy were suspended, so several months before.
Complaint. After a complaint was received by the CBSA, not because of any due diligence by you, sir, or any due diligence by any other of your ministerial colleagues, or any due diligence by the CBSA ministry itself. It happened as a result of a complaint. So that's another example of a reactionary move. You talk about processes, but the process is not working, sir. So what confidence should Canadians have with this new level of bureaucracy moving forward to actively weed out the bad actors? This is taxpayer money that you are mandated, sir, to preserve and to safeguard. And there's just been nothing but examples after examples of complete fraudulent misuse. So what assurances can you give Canadians, Minister?
So, evidence/action. Whenever there is evidence, there needs to be action, and you've seen this in the last few months. No, there was evidence is produced, there is immediate action. And in many cases, that action doesn't require waiting for more evidence. Second, you saw the announcement this morning. This is not additional bureaucracy. The Office of Supplier Integrity and Compliance is going to be provided with lots of tools,
Minister,
preventative tools.
I have to cut you off in order to get you out on time.